Welcome back, everybody, to Han Talks First. This is episode 44. We got a special guest today, but before I intro him, I would like to tell you what we're talking about. We're talking about the latest Star Wars news, which we do every single week, the latest and greatest. And also the main topic today is what if Disney did not buy Star Wars? We're going to talk all about that. We got quotes from George Lucas himself, from Bob Iger, who was the head of Disney, and we're just going to kind of talk about everything in between. So with me today, for the first time on Han Talks First, is a very special guest. He is a podcast host himself, and we met through a podcasting community. And it was funny because we were actually both listening to each other's shows, and then I forgot who hit up who first, and then became friends. I went on his show. Now he's on this one after much long overdue time. But I'm proud to introduce Lando. Lando's not a system. He's a person. And he's right here. Lando, introduce yourself. Tell everyone who you are, what you love about Star Wars, and how you doing.
Absolutely. So if any introduction I'm going to give myself, I'm going to do it just like I do on my podcast. So I am your co-host this week, Mike Lando Ferrando. There we go. That's how I do my introduction every week on my podcast. So if you want to add an echo effect, that's what I do when I
will. I will.
So first off, Han, thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast, Han Talks First. Yes, we were both fans of each other's podcasts. I still regularly listen to your podcast, and it's actually one of my favorite Star Wars podcasts to still listen to. So there's that. Okay, so a little bit about Lando over here. I am an OG, old school Star Wars guy, Star Wars fan. I am an original. I was born in 1977, so I am your original trilogy fan. And yes, my group of fans, right, are the fans that shit all over the prequels, that shit all over this, that shit all over that, because it's not as good as the originals. Well, Han Talk First, listeners out there, I am not that fan. I am a Star Wars fan that loves everything about Star Wars. I love the prequels, I love the original trilogy, and I absolutely love the sequel trilogy. Now, don't get me wrong. I have lots of problems with stuff in Star Wars. And for anybody that listens to SithTalkers, everybody knows that my biggest problem is with Luke Skywalker and the sequel trilogy. So there, I'll actually stem it off that. So because I know, Han, you like to hear, people's Star Wars story. Yeah. So Lando's Star Wars story, obviously, like I said, I was born in 77, and I was introduced to Star Wars through a little device called a Betamax player. So I don't know if all the Han Talks First listeners out there know what a Betamax is. It's actually before VHS. So this is how I was introduced.
Everybody.
Okay. So right, there's 4K, there's Blu-ray, there's DVD, there's VHS, and then there's Betamax before it. So that's how I got introduced to Star Wars as a child. But I do have like this first memory of Star Wars, and it's actually with my father. And he took me to a drive-in movie. And I don't know if it was like Harrison Ford night, because obviously this is in the 80s, and they played Raiders of the Lost Ark and they played Star Wars: A New Hope, back to back.
Amazing.
Right. And so don't ask me why, but I do have this memory of going to this drive-in movie theater and seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars when I was a small child. And ever since just that experience, I've been hooked. And my favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi. So Return of the Jedi, like I said, I'm an 80s child. So like I must have watched Return of the Jedi like on Betamax and warped the tape, because I almost watched that movie every single day for an entire year. I absolutely loved it. And like I said, enjoying Star Wars as a child was one thing, and I just love the hero's adventure of Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is like my favorite character through and through, as a child, as an adult. I just love the story of, it's your typical, story. The farm boy becomes the hero, saves the galaxy. But
Yeah.
as I got older, my interest in Star Wars was actually, it goes a little bit deeper than that. If you want to get a little deeper and serious about Star Wars, to me, Star Wars is about family. It's about redemption. Yes, we get the hero's journey, but it's about relationships, and just something that hit Lando here to the core is a father and son relationship. I think all sons like want to earn the respect of their dad, and it's something I've always strived to do, and I still strive to do. Is you just want the respect of your dad, and just having Luke Skywalker redeem his father, right? And at that moment, like I said, they just respect. I think the respect is there at the end of Return of the Jedi, and they save each other at the end of Return of the Jedi, and it's such a magical moment. And like I said, you take all the sci-fi or fantasy, whatever you want to call it, out there. This is a movie about relationships, family, and love. Right? I want to put
Definitely.
love to the forefront of Star Wars, because people talk about lightsaber battles, and they want more wars in space, right? Me too,
Yeah.
right? I want to see some spaceships blow up and stuff, but the core of Star Wars is relationships. So, and that's why I love The Rise of Skywalker. I'll just get it out of the way. I absolutely
I was gonna
love
ask you.
the movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a roundabout way, what does Star Wars mean to Lando? I was hooked when I was a child. It has stuck with me my entire life. These are the only movies I could probably watch 100 times each, and I have watched them 100 times each or more. I don't know, man. It's just, I mean, you can see my room. It is such a part of my life, and these stories and these characters. Um, it's like I said, and it comes down to love and relationships and family. I think that really hits
Yeah.
home with Lando over here.
So if you're saying our rooms are a representation of what our lives are like, I guess I'm pretty plain. I haven't had a chance to make it fancy in the background yet, but
That's
so
quite all right.
I love your response about family. I haven't heard that one yet. I mean, I ask everyone every week, at least anyone I have on, like what they think makes it iconic and stuff, and that's my favorite question because you always get something different, but they're all relative and like as far as I don't know some kind of importance. But yeah, so Lando here is one of the hosts of SithTalkers. It's him and his brother. So after you guys are done listening to this episode, Han Talks, go check out SithTalkers. Please don't leave yet. We still got plenty to talk about. But,
and I just want to add in real quickly that a lot of Star Wars stuff has been real negative for a long while now. And I just want to point out the fact that is, me and my brother, our last episode was convention stories. And I just want to point out the fact that this is what I love about Star Wars and the Star Wars community is that you go to a convention and there's so much love and everybody has open arms and we're all there for one thing, Star Wars. And you're talking to people, from across the states, from other countries. It doesn't matter what your background, your nationality, your race is, nothing, right? And Star Wars brings people together. So I just want to promote because I know we talk about this and that, and we complain a lot about Star Wars, but I just want to say, man, Star Wars is a very, very positive thing, and it does bring people together. And I think people need to jump on board with that, instead of chugging along this fucking negativity train. So
sometimes it can be a giant turd, but hopefully we can be the little piece of candy stuck inside it.
Absolutely.
So speaking of togetherness, I guess we can call this Han Talks Sith. I think that works.
I like it.
Okay, so I guess let's just jump into the news. I know I sent you an outline, but there was something I noticed earlier this morning that I forgot to put on there.
Oh.
And it is actually related to Ahsoka Tano's casting the Rosario Dawson thing.
I absolutely loved
And
it. So
I do too.
yeah,
I do too. And what I saw this morning was the voice of Ahsoka actually had something to say about it. Ashley Eckstein herself. Oops. I think I lost my video. There we go.
there we go.
So Ashley Eckstein, of course, has been like bombarded on Twitter and stuff, and she actually gave a response to her thoughts on this thing. I'll read you her quote real quick that we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So she said, "The truth is, I'm not involved in The Mandalorian, and I can't answer questions that I have not been a part of. I am an actress, and I've performed in all types of mediums: live action, film, television, theater, voiceover, hosting, and it's been my dream for 14 years to continue to play Ahsoka Tano in all forms. I will continue to be grateful for the opportunities to help create stories for Ahsoka, and I am always happy to see her legacy continued. I am only one member of the tremendously talented team of people that it takes to bring Ahsoka to life. The final decisions for Ahsoka are not mine to make, and I cannot comment on something that I truly know nothing about." I thought it was well said. I can definitely see that she's maybe a little sad. It sounds like she wasn't even considered from that quote, really, since she said she's not involved at all.
Very, very professionally said, right? For me, sorry, Han Talk First listeners, I am a New England Patriots fan. So I am originally born and raised in Massachusetts. I do live in Indiana now. So it's fun being a football fan where I live, especially being a Patriot fan. But I can compare this to a Tom Brady, Bill Belichick press conference. Not even a goodbye to Tom Brady. He's off Tampa. But I've watched many press conferences with these gentlemen, and they always say the right thing, the professional thing, just enough, and they really don't. You know what I'm saying? And this is what this statement is. She's saying, "Hey guys, I really no comment," but she says it in a really polite way. Right, and she's actually being pretty honest and open, saying, "Hey, no one's reached out to me. I would still love to do this." I listened to another Star Wars podcast, and I've actually heard this response with her talking. So, and I've actually heard this more in depth. Like, there's actually a huge interview with her on another Star Wars podcast. It's like an hour long with her on it.
Oh.
If you want me to say it, I can.
Yeah.
So Rebel Force Radio. So they interviewed Ashley Eckstein, and she is being interviewed. I guess I think she's being interviewed for about an hour. I listened to it over the weekend, and she talks about all of it. And she's real open. She's real honest. And she says if they approach her and ask her to be the voice or to be the actress, she would cross that bridge, and she would absolutely love to do it. But she has no ill feelings, no ill will, nothing. Like she said in the statement, like she, it's not her decision if they pick someone else. She's just glad that people get to see Ahsoka, in live action.
I think she fully believes that too, I mean, did you ever, even before there was like rumor that Ahsoka would be live action, first of all, are you a big fan of the character?
It's funny you say that. She is my favorite animated Star Wars character.
Oh yeah. Okay. So what was your what was your dream cast, or did you think Ashley was like gonna be the one?
It's funny you say that, man, because if I'm being completely honest, Rosario Dawson is perfect.
She is.
No. I mean, if I were to try to think of any other actress, I really can't. It's just stupid to say, but bone structure, the way she looks, right? Her build, the age appropriateness for the character, especially for the Mandalorian timeline, it's right on, in my opinion. Now, I love Ashley. She does a phenomenal job, voicing. If they want to use her voice, that's fine. But I think for this platform, I think Rosario Dawson is absolutely the best choice. And that's coming from a Star Wars fan. So, and like I said, I don't want to shit on the Clone Wars parade, because I bring this back to the negativity, right? Because that's all it is now, is everybody's shitting on Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson, because it's not the voice actor. Well,
Right.
that's not what usually happens, anyways. You know,
Right. No, I didn't even
so
consider her at first. I really didn't know much of her. I've seen her in movies, but once it was announced, it was kind of like, huh, why didn't I think of that before? Because you're right, it works fine. And Favreau, he just knows what the hell he's doing. So
mwah.
we gotta
Can this
trust
guy direct a
Favreau.
Star Wars movie, please?
So everyone's talking about these new revelations in the Rise of Skywalker novelization. I
Hmm.
don't have it. I haven't read anything, so my what I'm saying here isn't 100% firsthand knowledge, but there
And I
was
know them
some.
all. So, by
You
the
know them
way,
all.
yes,
You read them.
I have watched all the
Oh, I see what you're
videos.
saying.
Guilty. Because I really like. I'm really super. Like I said in my podcast, we talk about the difference in the novelization too. Because the novelization, like I said, I won't go over any of them on your podcast, but like it just gives you more information
Mhm.
and it gives you a better sense now when you're watching The Rise of Skywalker because now you actually have more story when you're watching the movie, which then it makes it make more sense. Yeah, I did a podcast a couple weeks ago where I was actually really angry because basically Star Wars is telling us I have to buy DLC like a video game. Like I have
Right.
to buy the DLC to understand the movie that I spent my hard-earned money on. Right? You saw it 3 or 4 times. I saw it 3 times, 3 or 4 times in the theater. But then I had to buy a book to to understand the movie more.
I guess you can talk more on this than I can, but I read that it shows in the Rise of Skywalker novel. It explains a little bit more about how Kylo Ren beat Rey in The Force Awakens in that scene on Starkiller Base, and that Chewbacca was firing at him when he killed Han out of vengeance, and then he's physically weakened and emotionally compromised in his duel against Rey, and that's his excuse for being, I guess, failing in that fight. And the quote from the book says, actually, "I have not forgotten that you shot me." He's speaking to Chewbacca, and he says that wound had resulted in a defeat of Rey's hands. Had he been in top fighting form, the scavenger never would have gotten the best of him. And this is a deleted scene from the movie of when he's interrogating Chewbacca, and it was actually in concept art.
Yes, and it's a great. If I can dig a little bit into it because I know more about it.
Yeah, do
They
it.
have a flashback of young Ben with Chewbacca. I don't know, like it just puts more context on
Oh,
the
really? That's
Kylo
cool.
character because when he's interrogating Chewbacca, it gives him flashbacks of being a young boy with Chewbacca.
Oh, that's
Wouldn't
really
you
cool.
love to see that?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Like
Wow.
it's just once again, man. Like I said, these little things that were in the book, man, just really make me upset because I would have loved to see them in the movie.
Right.
Um, it just gives characters more context. And I think something that we got lackluster in the sequel trilogy was very good character development with all the characters. I don't think we fleshed out the characters enough in the newer movies, in my opinion. Um, and I actually I watched Rise of Skywalker the other day. I have it not on digital now.
Yeah.
And I feel so cheated when I watch it because we literally get like what 2 minutes with Ben Solo. Right, and he has no speaking lines. Like
Doesn't say a word.
once he chucks his lightsaber and he talks to his memory, not a Force ghost, not his memory of Han, he has no more speaking lines except a grunt when when he dives down into the Exegol, and fights, the Knights of Ren and stuff. But like, I don't know, like I think I would have loved to see just and that comes back to that flashback. If you show like a flashback of him as young Ben, and I know we have the comics and stuff, but like putting it more into context in the movie, because this is what I'm gonna watch 100 times. And this is what I said on my podcast. I'm not gonna read the book 100 times. Okay. I'm gonna watch the movie 100 times, 200 times, 300 times.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So these little things that spice the movie up and just give the characters just more development. I don't know, man, just makes a richer movie, in my
You're right.
opinion.
And I
Sorry.
think that's been the problem with not just Star Wars movies, but a lot of movies recently is that everything's kind of switching and focusing more on television these days, and television is a
Yeah.
very character-based medium where you have long periods of time
Yes.
to get to know everybody. And movies have been really focusing mainly on the story, but a story is no fun if you can't really connect with somebody. And The Rise of Skywalker was this brand new story about like finding this dagger, finding this wayfinder, and it didn't fit, didn't make sense. You forgot who your characters were, trying to figure out this new story, and it all ties together. And
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship.
Why do you think people love The Mandalorian when you can stretch out The Mandalorian? Because so one of our listeners asked SithTalkers, do you want Solo 2 or do you want Solo on Disney Plus? Disney Plus, please give me 8 episodes of Solo after the Solo movie. Absolutely flesh out the characters more. Show them on Tatooine running jobs with Jabba. More with Darth Maul running the crime syndicate. You can flesh that out in a series, not in another hour and 45-minute movie or 2-hour movie.
I can see the Solo, if it was a series, tying into the Mandalorian better than the movie could tie into The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
Like separating those two worlds. Does that make sense?
I would love that. Like I said, when people ask me, you want another movie? I'm like, well, I think I'd rather have 8 or 10 episodes on Disney Plus.
A lot of people are saying that now.
Anyways, back to Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren. So basically, more stuff we didn't see in the movie was in the book, and it makes sense. I kind of already, that was my assumption when I saw that scene, that he wasn't beat by Rey because she was a Mary Sue. He was beat because he was just shot in the freaking lung and was probably suffering.
Now, what was he shot by?
The bowcaster.
Exactly. And what does the bowcaster do that we saw earlier in the movie?
Blows shit up.
Okay, thank you. Like, I just want to point, I wanted to point that detailed out there. Like, Ben, Kylo, whatever. He took a shot in the side by something that blows you up.
Kylo's a Mary Sue, okay? He could fucking take anything. Did you see him in The Rise of Skywalker fighting Rey on the Death Star trench? He wasn't sweaty. He wasn't exhausted. He was just like,
can I talk about that for 1 second?
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments of the movie is when Rey comes out and after seeing Dark Rey, and Kylo's there. And and he picks up and he crushes it, and she's like, no, and she lights her lightsaber. He doesn't. And the first part of the lightsaber battle with them is Kylo dodging, never lit his lightsaber. It's actually probably my favorite part of the lightsaber battle. That's just like I said, just my opinion. I absolutely love it. In that moment, to me, that's when the roles reversed. That's when Rey started tapping into the darkness, and actually Kylo was calm.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't even need my lightsaber right now. You're way out of control.
Yeah.
Right? And this is what I love about Kylo in The Rise of Skywalker. He was, now granted in the other 2 movies, right, spoiled, tantrums, blah, 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 blah. In this movie, a certain point, he is really calm and collective, especially with Rey. That's what I'm saying. It seems like you can see the role reversal, and you can see it in the lightsaber battle. Like,
that's so true.
And
I love that.
Rey, at the end of it, I think she can feel it. That's why she gets down. She's down, and she's feeling defeat, and she's going, I'm angry. And she let her anger get the best of her, which ultimately why she lost the lightsaber battle.
Are you sure you didn't write the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker?
I love it.
Info.
I love Star Wars. That's just my opinion.
No, I love that.
That's just great. How, like, when I watch the movie, that's just how I feel about it. I love Kylo Ren is my favorite Star Wars character of the new trilogy. I love Ben Solo. That's why I wish we got more Ben Solo. And I think during that lightsaber battle, he starts as Kylo and he is Ben Solo at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
So I and everybody, I don't want Kylo redeemed. I wanted Kylo redeemed, and I actually love the way they did it. Like you can only do what you could do with Leia because she, rest her soul. Love Carrie Fisher. Rest in peace. You can only do so much, and I thought the poeticness of her giving her last Force essence that actually depleted her to call out to Ben, right? Like that, because that's what it was. Like it was, and that's what explains it in the novel. Like it took all of her Force essence, the last of her life essence, to project that to Ben, and then she passed away, but she wasn't gone, and she was staying until Ben, right, finally got redeemed, and did the unselfish thing with saving Rey at the end. Like I said, that's just poetically, and then they disappear.
Yeah.
Like I said, that is a poetic moment, right? Poetically in the same movie. You didn't get that poetically from. That's what I'm saying. I guess that's what I'm saying. We can't go, well, we got this poetic moment in The Force Awakens and we can connect it here. Like you said, like it was a whole new story. It was like watching a brand new movie. Right. Honestly, you can honestly watch The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker and be probably just fine. You might be a little confused. Right? You probably want to know what happened with Luke on the island, but he shows up as Force Ghost.
That whole sequence, the trench, the Death Star, the fight, Leia dying, is my favorite sequence of the movie. I said it many times, but
yes,
that's the part I always think back on when I think of The Rise of Skywalker. But there'll be more stuff to come out about this book. I'm sure you know everything else, but and on to your point with Kylo, right? I love how he is portrayed as stronger than Rey in The Rise of Skywalker. He is. I mean, it's hands down. He is shown as more powerful and in control in The Rise of Skywalker than The Last Jedi, than The Force Awakens. 100%.
So, and I think that was a lot of people's problems was, well, how come Kylo, he's been trained by Luke Skywalker. He's had all these years of training. And then Rey comes along and she's more powerful. Well, I think maybe JJ did it on purpose, but yeah, Kylo Ren is such a badass in this movie. He is the dominant Jedi, whatever you want to call him in the movie. I call him a Jedi because he's Ben Solo at the end of it. He is the dominant one out of the pair of them, even though they're equals, right, with the dyad. But he was just shown as more powerful than Rey in this movie.
100%. I that's partially why I want to get the book, is so I can read a little bit more about it.
You love all the extra stuff in it. It does give you way more information. The whole sequence at the beginning with Palpatine, it makes way more sense reading the book.
I can't wait.
So way more sense. You get your answers about Snoke. That's not like who's Snoke. I don't want to tell you. You will find out who Snoke is when you read the book.
Hell yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. And now it's probably it might fall flat with you like it did with me, but you still get an explanation. And
hey, that's fine as long as I get something.
I don't know. Once again, I think after you read the book and you remember us talking about it, I'll just say this. If you just add a few more extra lines of dialogue in the movie, it goes a long way.
100%.
And that's all I'll say.
Before we move on to the next thing, I want to mention real quick to anyone who knows me, and you see me wearing this shirt and wondering why I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt, because I don't normally wear this type of stuff. This is actually a Star Wars shirt. I don't know if you can see this, Lando. But
I see him now. Well, now that you pointed them out, I see the Death Star and the TIE fighters, and that's awesome.
It's the only
I couldn't pull off a shirt like that. I'm like a t-shirt guy, but
well, maybe if you
awesome.
Just loosen some buttons, you'll be good. Some people might enjoy that. I'm not gonna say who. Anyway, so we talked about Kylo a little bit. The other real quick thing I wanted to say was, like, I'm sure you saw the Pod Racer game is coming to Switch and
Yes. PS4.
PlayStation 4.
Yes. Yes.
I'm an Xbox guy, so I was kind of pissed that it's not coming to Xbox. Oh, you're a PS guy?
I'm a Nintendo PlayStation guy through and through.
Yeah.
And of course, since you sent me the outline, I'm gonna do the nerd thing right now. Because I mean, you see my room.
Yeah.
Check this out. Look at this. Everybody on YouTube.
Oh,
look
yes.
at this. So I had to do a little digging in my video games, but I keep all my Star Wars video games. And here is the sequel, Racer's Revenge. And then next to it, I had to share this. This is another racing game. Super Bombad Racing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I had to share those.
I remember trailers for that. Oh my gosh.
I had to share those. And Lando did have the Nintendo pod racing game. You know, it's funny. You sent me that outline. I immediately turned my PlayStation on and looked for it. It's not out yet. It's not out yet.
That's hilarious. My girlfriend has a Switch, so I will be confiscating it once it does come out.
So Lando over here, man. I'm old school, right? I grew up with Atari and the original Nintendo and stuff. So, man, I played Pole Position. I played F-Zero. Hey, all old school listeners, if you know what F-Zero is, hashtag F-Zero. Awesome racing game back in the day. F-Zero.
That's great, dude. But I know I can't wait. We should try and figure out how to do some kind of like live stream of us playing a game.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Or just let me come on and just listen to your commentary during it. I'm sure it's hilarious. We got one more thing before the main topic, everybody. I want to hear your thoughts on the new Clone Wars season.
Oh my god.
Episode 6.
I love it. Okay, so I'll try to be brief.
Quick. There's
go ahead.
We're recording this in advance, guys. So I know that episode 7's already out, but this is going to be our episode 6 review. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, obviously, if you're still listening, I'm kind of long-winded here, but I can tell you, I can talk Star Wars all day long. So, Clone Wars. So first, let me go over the first 4. The Bad Batch. Absolutely love it. Loved the Bad Batch story arc. Absolutely loved it. Okay. So now we're on to the Ahsoka story arc. First episode, I was kind of like, it's okay. Okay, so this last episode, Deal or No Deal. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I don't know. Can you guess my favorite part of this episode? Here, I'll throw this out to you. Oh, what is it?
I already know what it was.
Come on. I know you're going to guess.
It was the throwback to Return of the Jedi when Anakin's looking like force thinking that Ahsoka's there or whatever.
Yes! Dude, you nailed it. Dude, you nailed it. That was mine too. You nailed it. Dude, he felt her in the ship.
Who was on that ship?
Nobody. Nobody. Yeah, dude, that was my absolutely favorite moment of the episode. Dude, you nailed it. Absolutely. It was just
that made it so worth it because I really wasn't feeling these last 2 either. I still loved it, but it was really slow and kind of like, oh my god, it's kind of like we're backtracking as far as like we're building up to something, but it's like no idea what we're building up to. Still meeting new characters. Yeah. So it's going to be slow, but it's a slow burn because you know where it's going to hit the fire soon, I
thought you would appreciate all the Kessel stuff and the similarities to Han dropping the spice, right?
I was actually shocked that they brought that in because in my head I watch it, I'm like, this is like a kid's show, and they. No, it was Resistance. I was thinking of the bar scene in Resistance. Never mind. There's a bar scene in Resistance, and it was a little intense, but
I really like that show. That show gets shit on, by the way.
Resistance?
I really enjoyed it.
I love Resistance.
I really enjoy it. That show gets shit on a lot, but
I'm 3 episodes from finishing it, and I love
it. Nice. And we have confirmation. I'll spoil this. Kaz, the ship, was one of the ships at the end of the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, no way. That's amazing. There. Oh, my gosh.
Possible.
I'll have to go find
Ship's there. Right. So that's cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Clumsy. You're kind of like Kaz. You know that?
It's a good compare. I'm a little lanky here. Yeah, you're right. If I look like any Star Wars character, it's probably Kaz.
Hey, Cass is a good-looking guy.
Yeah. His planet got, like I said, and so did you? I mean, obviously, you got to the part where, yeah, it ties into the Force Awakens, and it shows
Yeah.
General Hux's like speech, and like, yeah, as the planet gets, his home planet gets like destroyed. Was it Hosnian Prime? So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so good show. Yeah, anybody who's listening, if you haven't watched Resistance, give it a chance. Like
Please do.
honestly, it's a
Is
really
it
good show.
is it over like completely?
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Yeah, it's completely over.
Oh, okay. Since I haven't finished, I wasn't sure if it was like going to be renewed or not. So
Yeah. I know all the Star Wars animated stuff's going to be over, like completely over, right? There's no Rebels, no Resistance. Clone Wars will be over here shortly for good.
Good things come in small bundles.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, what else about these Clone Wars? Where do you think it's going to go? What do you think?
Well, obviously, we've seen the trailer. We've seen Darth Maul, right? I think we've seen Ahsoka fighting Darth Maul in the trailer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we know this leads into Revenge of the Sith, Order 66.
Yeah.
So Lando over here, like you, okay, we got through the Bad Batch, super cool. We had the Avengers of the teenage, whatever you want to call it. I call them the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of Star Wars, right? So you had that. It was a super cool storyline. Now we're getting what happened to Ahsoka right after she walked down the steps at the Jedi Temple, right? Because this is immediately. So we're gonna get this, and like I said, we just gotta get through it. And I think the last 4 episodes is where all the juice is. This is when we're Revenge of the Sith time, Darth Maul, Ahsoka, how everything ties in. We're gonna see different angles of Revenge of the Sith. Oh, which I'm like super excited about. Right?
It's gonna be so great.
So
but it's only like what, 5, 6 more episodes left?
Yeah, there's only like 10. Wait, no, is there 12? I know. I think there's 4.
I think it's 12.
Yeah, there's 4. They're 4 episode arcs. So, like I said, we got the Bad Batch arc. We're gonna get the Ahsoka arc with exactly what happened right after she left. Then the last 4 episodes will go into Revenge of the Sith.
It's gonna hit so hard.
Those are, like I said, those are the ones, and we're all craving those, and they know, right? Those are the ones like they gave us Baby Yoda like right off the bat in the Mandalorian. Clone Wars is slow burn, right?
Yeah, I can't wait. So that's the Clone Wars, guys. Tune in next week to see what we think about episode 7 and onward from there. So let's just go ahead and jump into this main topic. I think it's a really interesting thought is, what if Disney did not buy Star Wars? I normally don't do what ifs, but I think this one is kind of, it's on and off brand. It's like business and creative thinking. So what if Disney did not buy Star Wars? So we're going to look at it from 3 different angles here. We're going to look at it from Lucasfilm, what its state was before Disney. We're going to look at Lucasfilm's position after Disney bought it, and then also from the standpoint of, okay, if Disney didn't buy Lucasfilm, then who would buy Lucasfilm? So we'll start with Lucasfilm before Disney. George Lucas still owns it, and at the time before, they bought it in 2012, is that right? So 2011, They were talking about negotiations and stuff.
Yep.
So before 2011, Clone Wars is still active.
Yep.
Prequel trilogy is done. There are tons of speculation that George Lucas was still considering developing episodes 7, 8, 9 by himself.
He was.
Yes. So there was some times that he would say there will never be a 7, 8, 9. And there was times that he was like, oh, we're developing 7, 8, 9. And there has been leaks of like old concepts of what they called the Neo Empire, which was George Lucas's idea for the bad dark side officers that were after post Empire, kind of like neo-Nazis. It was the Neo Empire, or Neo Empire Soldier Trooper, something. I don't know, something like that. But there's stuff out there you can see and look at, guys. Check that out. But so with talking about George Lucas developing his version of 789, I want to talk about what that would have possibly looked like. And why it stopped, or why he stopped even before Disney inquired about buying Lucasfilm. So for me, I know he did say that he was originally planning for May 2015 is when he was going to drop his episode 7 if he continued on with it. I think, like he said, we would have gotten to the microbiotic world, you know, midichlorians and shit, which we're actually dealing with some midichlorian pandemic right now. They're attacking us, and it's called the coronavirus.
Oh boy.
For me, at the time before Disney bought Star Wars, I was still a very big fan. No podcast or anything, but I did still have a very huge appreciation and respect for George Lucas, since I guess I grew up as a kid with prequels. Didn't see a problem with them at the time, and he has since been my idol, my hero. So if he was going into it to direct it, create it, etc., I would have been completely on board. Would it have been good or not? I don't know. You probably have a better memory of the whole him developing this 7, 8, 9. So what's your thoughts on it?
First off, George Lucas is my hero.
Respect.
Look, this guy, so you got to keep in mind, right? And obviously as a child, you don't think about any of this stuff, but as an adult, you just look back on George Lucas. I mean, the guy created effects in these movies that didn't exist. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind. Like when these original movies came out, these special effects did exist. Now he did use some special effects, the stop animation stuff that they used like in Jason and the Argonauts, right? And stuff like that. Clash of Titans. But he had to invent stuff. George Lucas, guilty, invented Pixar, invented Skywalker sound, helped, special effects like
Dolby.
That's what I'm saying. Like this guy, and obviously with people behind him, invented the way movies are made today. So with that said, there's a reason why Lando over here at Celebration 3, which was here in Indianapolis, waited in line for like 9 or 10 hours just to be in the same room and watch George Lucas get interviewed. Now, granted, I was in the back of the room. I still had a chair, but I stood in line for 9 to 10 hours to watch him get interviewed. And I would stand in line for 10 hours right now to see him up on stage for 15 minutes. Absolutely. Now, would the movies been good? Right? Because this is the big question. Right? Because people shit all over the prequels. Right? People love the original trilogy, and they might say that his wife saved the original trilogy because she's the one who really edited A New Hope. Well, I should say re-edited it to make it what it is today. Those films are beloved by everybody, and then you get to the prequels and everybody shits on them. Okay, but now 20 years later, people are finding a new appreciation for the prequels, which is nice. But I tell you, I still say, what say you, all the haters? That is still those prequels. That is blood, sweat, and tears. George Lucas, 100%. That is his life and his soul right there. So that's what he would have had to do for these new movies. And I've seen several interviews with him saying, I do not want to take 10 more years of my life to devote myself to do that again after he did the prequels and all the backlash he got. I don't blame him. Right. He just had a new child and wanted to concentrate on family. And, I completely understand. You're right. He prioritized his life and said, hey, everybody, I know everybody wants Star Wars. I've been developing Star Wars, but I got to put my family first, which he did. Right. And he thought he was doing the right. I don't want to say thought. He thought he was doing the right thing by giving it to Disney, because I think he thought he was still going to have creative control somehow.
I do too.
I think he thought they were going to use his scripts and his ideas, and he was going to help make the new movies. That didn't happen. Like I said, there are some interviews out there you can watch with George Lucas. The Charlie Rose one is great. Because that's him being completely honest after he sold Star Wars and Lucasfilm. But Han, you're right. Like the scripts were midichlorian based. He wanted to dive into the Force and the Wills. You know the Wills, right, from Rebels, from the animated series. So if you don't know, if you're listening, you don't know the Wills. Basically, the Wills are the Force, and he wanted to deep dive into that and that aspect. And I looked up some stuff. He actually wanted to make it clear that the Wills were in control of the Force. They willed the Force, and they actually used people as vessels to control the Force. Like, as I dug into it, and I was like, wow, this is getting like real deep. I was like, George, okay. Like, right. I'm like, all right, George, like, Jesus Christ. Like, all right, man.
I think it's a fascinating idea. I think this stems from his studies into anthropology, which is what he considered before. And I think it would have made to become it would have had fun and adventure in it, but I think this would have been one of the most maturest and theoretical trilogies in Star Wars. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're taking a music class, you can take Introduction to Music, which is, I guess, the prequels. And then you can take a little bit more advanced course, which is the original trilogy. But if you just want to study the theory, you're going to watch 7, 8, and 9.
Well, that's a good comparison. It's music theory. It's Star Wars theory.
Yeah, and I think that would not have been liked in the majority.
No, but he still had. He did take some stuff from the expanded universe, because I researched that he still had a story where Luke's pupil turned on him, where we were going to follow a brother and sister, right, from the Skywalker family line, but it was going to be right. It was going to be all about them, right, the next generation, but still having to do with digging into the Wills and the midichlorians and getting more explanation about the Force. So,
and he had a female lead, but that
Kira
was Kira. Yeah,
it's my dog's name. So,
oh yeah.
So, and that's I named. So, I have three dogs. I have a female husky. Her name is Kira. Yep, Kira.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I have no dogs, and I wish I had one. If I did, I'm going to name my dog Snips.
Well, it's funny. So I have a female German Shepherd. Her name is Jaina. And Jaina is from the expanded universe, which is Han and Leia's daughter. So, which is funny, right? Funny. I have Kira and I have Jaina. So,
what's the other one?
Well, the other one is I have a male husky, and his name is Brady. So,
where does that come from?
That comes from Tom Brady, but now he's in Tampa. so there you go. I can't tie that into Star Wars any way, shape, or form.
Well, unless he starts working for Disney, maybe. Okay, so before we talk about whatever the fuck Disney has planned for George Lucas's child, I want to talk about who else would have had the potential to buy it. The easy answer, if not Disney, it would have been Fox. Not because they could afford it, but because they were the original distributors and original studio that backed the movie. And then since Empire has distributed up until Disney bought it. And George had a good relationship with whoever was the head of the studio at the time.
Alan somebody. Yeah. Alan somebody.
And had actually considered selling it to them after The Empire Strikes Back due to financial stress. And it wasn't because he wanted to take the easy way out, but he had a divorce. He had children. He was, it was a big responsibility. He was funding these things himself, and it was just getting to him. Still a very wealthy man, but when you're putting that much money into a project that you're really not sure is going to work out, it's understandable. But he did it. He finished it. So I think it was always going to be Disney, considering his relationship and how big of a shareholder he is. But if it wasn't, I think it would have been Fox.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you. And like you said, you do know, Fox, 20th Century Fox, they own the distributing rights to A New Hope. No one else did, right? So that movie was actually separate from all the other Star Wars movies, right? Because they still own the rights to it. Quick little fact, like I said, I did some research.
Yeah.
So when George Lucas signed the documents, 2.2 billion in cash, 1.8 billions in Disney stock. Like you were saying.
That's
so
insane.
The guy owns $1.8 billion in stock in Disney. I mean, good Lord. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's such a smart move too in that negotiation, because he kind of got more than he should have. Not only did he get that cash from it, but now he has that share in Disney, which is, I guess, it's a pretty good deal, at least considering the time that they were building up to in their last year in 2019, which is pretty intense too. But I think if George Lucas had not have sold it to either Fox or Disney, and let's say George Lucas passed away, which is never going to happen because we're going to fight to keep him alive forever.
We're going to put him in carbon freezing.
Or we'll just pass his body out into a Snoke, or his mind into a Snoke. But I think if he hadn't sold it to anybody, and he just passed away of natural causes, or he just became one with the Force, I don't think we would ever see another Star Wars movie episodic based ever, because let's see, when was it? I wrote 2008 in his will, so to speak. He left instructions for Lucasfilm on what to do in like his absence or something. He was very explicit, saying that he wished they would not make any more Star Wars movies. Now that's just a wish. That's not contract or anything. It would be respecting his wishes if they followed through with that. And they could not have. If it was me, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't make another movie in like episode 7 wise. I'd still make a movie, but that's something interesting to think about too, because he really didn't want to sell it first in the early 2000s, and if it wasn't him, it wasn't going to be anybody.
No, he spent the majority of the 2000s on his live. Dude, okay, I was at Celebration 3. I told you, I saw George Lucas being interviewed. And Revenge of the Sith was at 2004? Was that it? 5. I'm looking at my poster. 2005. I was like, 2005.
You were looking at George. George?
Yeah,
He's standing right behind your webcam.
Okay, so 2005. At the convention, went and saw George Lucas. He told all of us there that, there wouldn't be any more movies, that this was it. But we were getting a live action Star Wars show, and it was in development, and it would be out in the latter part of the 2000s. He announced that to us at the celebration, and of course everybody went ape shit. So
why does no one talk about that anymore? The Underworld? Is that what
did you see the rough cut of the test footage of it?
I did. I did.
It is what it is, but like that's
test footage.
Yeah, that's what he was working on. Like after Revenge of the Sith, he wanted to do a live action Star Wars show for us, but it never happened.
If I'm wrong correctly, but I think he said it was supposed to tie in with that 1313 video game that was supposed to be
once again, that they made, that's finished, that's done, but they're not gonna release it.
But apparently it was like groundbreaking too, right? They were using this new game engine and the Unreal Engine, and it was supposed to be like have all this new groundbreaking things in it, and it just didn't. And it had Boba Fett.
Yes, I'm a video game nerd over here too, and I like some MMO because I play Destiny. I don't do like the computer MMOs, but like I like a Destiny type game that's like part MMO, part first person shooter, and just imagining having a Star Wars game that's on not just PC, because there is PC like Star Wars Galaxies, but if you give me like a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One game where you kind of Elder Scrolls, or it's an open world Star Wars game. Holy shit, right? Where you land in on Coruscant, I land in on Coruscant, and I'm like, Han, where are we going today? What are we doing? What are we going to do? Right? And we go do our mission together right? In an
That would have
open
been incredible.
Star Wars world. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a no brainer in my. I mean, because Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, I played both of those games, and you put that in the Star Wars realm. Oh man, come on! Everybody and their mom would buy it because people are
It's
still playing Battlefront, and I'm not a big
yeah.
fan of Battlefront game. So
I wasn't either. But it's a matter of time, and we'll get leaked footage of what that game was to look like. So just wait.
I
And I'm
hope
sure
so.
someone's gonna drop something. I'm shocked the Underworld stuff came out. I don't know how that dropped. And the theory is that it was Disney themselves or Lucasfilm themselves.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but yeah. But anyways, but yeah, back to your
That's
original question.
well, no, that's good because that's what I think. Also, the future would have been if he didn't sell to anybody, he would have built. We have the MCU. He would have done a Star Wars U. He would have done
So
that through video game and
yeah, so if you want to say anything about George Lucas, he was kind of ahead of the game. He was going to do a
exactly
live action series where he could flesh out characters. And he was very adamant. It
hmm
would have been characters we've never seen, right? And it would have been new stories, new adventures, new uh environments. That was something that George Lucas really frowned on with the sequel trilogy of what we got in the media with George Lucas was, well, the new movies are meh. We don't see any new technology. We don't see any new nothing. And George Lucas really prided himself off of that with Star Wars when he made the prequels. Like I said, you can
right.
shit all over Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks technology like didn't exist. Like
Yeah,
people in 1977, well, no, it was 76 when he was filming these movies. They had to make it up and make it work. In the year 1998, when he's filming The Phantom Menace, he had to make it work and make it up, make up the technology again.
right.
Right?
And like it's funny to think that somehow Disney figured out what he was doing before they asked if they could buy it. Because why else would they come in and take over right when it sounds like Lucasfilm was about to break out into the stuff in like 2011, 2012. They would have announced, hey, episode 7's coming in 2015. Or, hey, here's the game, here's the something. Because George said they had like 50 episodes of Underworld or something.
Yep.
It sounds like right when they were about to announce, hey, Lucasfilm is restarting. We're starting this next year off strong. Disney was like, hey, we'd like to buy you. And so it's like they knew what was happening before, and they wanted to jump in and I guess steal the glory. But they didn't continue anything that they had already started, which is what blows my mind. You had everything ready, all these great artists and technology that was ready to go.
And I agree with you. So imagine, like I said, I think greed and just, I don't know, power comes into play. But yeah, like just imagine George Lucas signs over, and they take George Lucas scripts, they make 7, 8, and 9. Then Disney, go ahead and make your slur of Star Wars movies that you write that
Do your luminous.
Like you can't fuck up Luke Skywalker. Like you can't fuck up Luke Skywalker in the Last Jedi. You can't fuck him up because you're gonna make George. And that was the thing, dude. Like I told you, George Lucas's version had a pupil betray him. He goes into isolation like Yoda, but it probably wouldn't have been handled the same way.
Yeah. Speaking, did you see the concept of Luke's on the island before Disney's?
Yeah.
The huge like floating dome thing, so cool. I love that so much.
Like I said, and once again, everybody, I absolutely love these sequel movies. Now, the Last Jedi is my least favorite, but I love The Rise of Skywalker. I love The Force Awakens. I do love The Last Jedi, just not what they did with Luke Skywalker. But when I hear like these other stories, this Duel of the Fates, Colin Trevorrow script, I just go, wow, this is a very original story with original ideas, and it would have actually continued the story from The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Which
somebody animated it and put it on YouTube.
I have to find that.
The Colin Trevorrow script. It's more of a goofy version, but they made the full story in animation. It's great.
I was wondering if that was going to happen. So
I'll find the link and send it to you. It was like
awesome.
the Trevorrow Duel of Fates animated version.
And once again, I don't want to, like I said, shit on the sequel trilogy because I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Every time I see Han Solo and Chewbacca walk in and say "Chewie, you're home," like I literally get like goosebumps.
Right.
No, I do. No, that's what's so, it's so stupid. Like I'm a 42. I'm 42, right? I'm watching The Rise of Skywalker. No, dude, I've seen this movie now like 6 or 7 times. The first time I see Lando Calrissian, I get goosebumps because in my head I'm going, the last time I seen him was Return of the Jedi. So it just gives me the feelies. Like every time I see Lando Calrissian for the first time, I'm just like, it's Lando. It's Lando. He's back. So, and like I said, I'm where me and my brother, because once again, my brother, he's 10 years younger than me. He hates the movie. Like we completely differ. Like our opinions are completely separate about The Rise of Skywalker. He thinks it's a bunch of fan service bullshit, which that fan service just spoon feeds Lando over here because I absolutely loved it.
So Disney bought Star Wars. There's no turning back. This happened. They've made
that's it, man.
Something like $5.6 billion already off of what their investment was, which pretty much matches what they did to purchase.
Ooh, I have a fact that I researched. It took Disney 6 years to recap the $4 billion.
That's insane.
There you go.
So I mean, they did it. Took a while. They did it, but maybe they could have made more if George Lucas was involved creatively,
and let people know he was involved.
Yes, 100%. And it's Kathleen Kennedy was ahead, handpicked by George. There's rumors now that she'll be kicked out because of the new CEO of Disney. I have no thoughts on that. I don't know. It could happen. It could not. Have you thought about that at all?
I guess I have like mixed feelings about all this because when George steps down, he basically handed the reins over to Kathleen Kennedy, and you can see behind the scene footage of Kathleen Kennedy on the set of the original Star Wars movie. So she has been with him the entire time, and you would think somebody that's been with George and knows like his eccentric ways and kind of the way he thinks. You know what I'm saying? That's why people shit all over like Rick McCullen. I don't know why. People shit all over this guy.
Fuck you, Rick.
Because he was like his right-hand man during the prequels.
Right.
But Rick McCullen knows how George Lucas thinks, the way he's going to react to something. Like, it's like having two George Lucases. And it kind of bothers me in a way that like Kathleen Kennedy took over Lucasfilm and was just like, I'm really not going to consider the way George Lucas would think about anything when it comes to these new movies. Because she didn't. George Lucas would not make a rehash of A New Hope. The Force Awakens, the storyline is a rehash of A New Hope with new elements sprinkled in. Once again, I absolutely love this movie, but the storyline's not original, right? It's just not. So Kathleen Kennedy, like I said, Disney just said, George, you signed? See ya. See you later. But I got this, I got the script, the wills. George, you signed wills? Here, hold on. I mean, it's just and like Kathy, you gonna back me up? Sorry, George, it's a Disney meeting.
Hold on, I'm gonna call Rick and we're gonna make our own.
Where's Rick?
First of all, what happened to Rick McCullen? He just kind of disappeared.
It's gone.
He got shit on.
He got shit on a lot with George. I mean, he got shit on a lot with George Lucas, and he actually, for all the Han Talk First fans, like I said, I know we're going. I apologize. I know we're going. I have like lots of stories, but he is responsible for one of Lando's favorite Star Wars moments in my life. Rick McCullen is responsible.
Yeah, share that story.
Okay, so all right, so this is at Celebration 3, and me and my buddy Ross, we just went to and we didn't even know like this is what it was. It was just a room in the convention center, and it was with Rick McCullen, where he was doing a question and answer, where you could just go in there and do question and answer, and it was a half-hour time slot. So we go in the room, Rick comes out, and it's like this real small room. I don't know, maybe 40, 50 people in it, max. And he goes, hey, everybody, does everybody want to see 10 minutes of Revenge of the Sith footage. We're just like, what? We're like, yeah. So he shows us a 10-minute reel, and all it is showing like scenes really fast, but like 10 minutes worth. It was absolutely amazing. And we all went ape shit. And it showed the scene where Yoda caught the Senate pod and started turning it and threw it back at the Emperor. Oh, we went. I mean, because no one saw it. No, we were the only people. Like, and this was back in 2005, and it wasn't all over the internet. We were the only people who saw this footage. So, like, that was amazing. And right, this footage is done. We're going ape shit, and then we do the question and answering. And, everybody's, Rick, blah, 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 Rick about this, Rick about that. And then one guy gets up and he says, Rick, can you show us that footage again? And Rick McCollum, he looks at his watch and he goes, well, there's about 10 minutes left that I have with you guys. He goes, look, it's up to you guys. Do you guys want to ask me 10 minutes more of questions, or do you guys want to watch the footage again? He goes, but it's up to everybody. Everybody goes, footage! And like, so he basically scrapped his Q&A, and we all did that. And he was just like, and before he put the footage on, he told us, he goes, hey guys, he goes, this is what I love about Star Wars. And he goes, this is what I love about Star Wars fans. He was just like, he goes, this is why Star Wars is what it is. And he goes, here you guys go again. And he played the footage again. The last time we all went fucking apeshit crazy. And, just for somebody to give up his, because he could have been like, well, no, this is like question time. I want you to know more. I want you guys to know more about me. No, he like gave that up to give us what we wanted and watch the footage again for 10 more minutes. And like I say, so Rick McCollum single-handedly responsible for one of my favorite Star Wars moments in my life. And that I will never, ever forget that moment. So
that's such a humble, sweet story, and like, he doesn't get that much love, so it's really nice to hear.
Like I said, I'm like, talk about it. I get really, really excited because I wish I could just relive that feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, there's just certain moments in your life you just wish you can like relive. And like I said, when you go through the Star Wars, the bah, and the letters. Every time I see that in a movie theater, I get chills, I get goosebumps. And I think I'm afraid I'm never going to feel that feel. I think I went and saw The Rise of Skywalker an extra time just so I could feel that feeling at the very beginning of the movie with the da and the letters going. I live for like those kind of moments with Star Wars. Like you don't get these, like it's had to come. You don't get these moments. Like they just don't happen all the time. That's why people are just like, dude, it's only a movie. I'm just like, well, but it gives me like these moments in my life that I'm excited about and that make me like a little child, and yeah, man, I want to feel that excitement and that joy. And that's what Star Wars does for me. Right. So I have a Star Wars podcast. I love it.
Speaking of that, I want to jump on that. This will be the last thing I want to say about George Lucas and future Star Wars. But if, why do you think this is something he created, something he loved, something he had a huge passion for that he really wanted to finish? Why did he let it go?
Oh, man, that's tough. I guess it's so tough.
Like, we all know he was upset about it. Like, it was hard. We know it was really hard for him.
You watch that video. Watch that video. After he signs his name, look at the look on his face. You would think that his children just died.
Right.
No. And all I'm thinking is, George, you just signed your life. Like, this is your life. Like, is Star Wars. And you just signed it away.
And if you don't think he looks upset, look at the guy next to him. He has the biggest smile on his face.
Yes.
And in dynamic with how sad and he looks, or just like traumatized.
I'm serious. It looks like somebody came up to his child and shot his child right in front of him. I mean, I'm serious. Like, I'm not crazy. His whole essence just like completely died.
And that's not even the point where he found out he wasn't involved creatively.
No,
he still thought at the time in that photo that he was going to be helping. So I can only imagine how much worse it was when they found out they just threw it all away.
And I can't imagine being the fucking CEO or whoever's decision of it, being that suit, because that's all it is. You're a suit at Disney, being that guy. And if it was Bob Iger, whatever, being that guy to tell George Lucas, hey man, thanks for giving us your company. Yeah, when can I come in and start consulting about the ideas? Well, George, we're really gonna go into like you're the guy that like had to make that decision to be like, hey, George is out. After I think they had discussions about his ideas and him probably being a consultant and this, because you hear about that. I think that is true. Right. Maybe it should be maybe it should have been more in the contract. Mm-hmm. Maybe. And maybe that was one of the stipulations. George, we can't put it in the contract. Don't worry, we'll use you as a consultant.
That's exactly what happened. I have the book here. I should have found a passage from it, but in the Ride of a Lifetime book, he talks about how Bob Iger, when he was making the deal with Lucas, said that he would, George was saying he wants to make sure that he had help with it or whatever, and they said, okay, yeah, that's fine, but we'll do that on a handshake agreement. But in the contract, it has to state that you're only there for consulting, and that means that we'll use your stuff. And then after they signed, Bob Iger says in his book, he was like, well, I thought I made it clear to him, but it turns out I didn't. So they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that's shady. Yeah, that's super shady.
The other reason why I think that he sold, in no way at all was it because of money, but because of how people treated him for the prequels. And that definitely took a toll on him.
Look at Jake Lloyd. I hate to bring that up, but scarred him for life. Right. No, it's scarred, dude. Playing Anakin Skywalker, and you go and you watch that. That's and I brought up in the podcast the Rise of Skywalker documentary on the digital download was amazing. Not my favorite documentary. The Phantom Menace one is probably one of my favorite documentaries, and you see Jake Lloyd get the job, beat out the other kids and this and that, and he's excited. And then you come to find out this movie ruined his life.
Right.
It's crazy. Sorry. Just terrible. Anyways.
No, and I think he holds himself responsible, even though he doesn't need to. But for Ahmed Best, how he was treated, I think he feels responsible for all of it, and he definitely supports those people. Ahmed was saying how George was telling him he would contact him every so often and tell him at a certain point it'll be over. People forget about it, and they stayed in touch. So he's a very supportive guy.
It's true. I told you we've mentioned the story on our podcast. Me and my brother went to the Chicago celebration. We were at the the Phantom Menace panel. Dude, Ahmed Best came out. He got a standing ovation. And he even told us he really appreciated all the love he is getting now for it, because people are appreciating the prequels a lot more now.
Before we head out, everyone make sure you go check out SithTalkers' channel and give him a follow, give him a listen to any other episodes you like. I would start at the beginning, like I did.
Oh no, it's terrible. The beginning's terrible.
Those are classic episodes, man. Some of the funniest stuff in there. As you guys are learning, figuring out your segments and stuff, I loved it. But any episode's great. I mean, listen to the Rise of Skywalker review. Lando looks at things differently than I do, especially that scene in T. Ross on the trench when they were first fighting, and the lightsaber dodging and stuff like that.
It's amazing.
But yeah, please go check them out. Do you have anything you want to tell anybody? Maybe give them where they can find their social media.
So like I said, check out SithTalkers. We are on all the podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We are on YouTube also too. So check out our YouTube channel. We do film me and my brother talking. Sometimes it's just me. Next week,
leave a link.
Yay. So yeah, I mean, next week we're actually I'm doing a what if episode. I like to try to do a monthly what if, and I just take a what if scenario and it's the main topic of the episode. Those are always a lot of fun
do you know what it is this month?
I do not yet.
No,
I've not decided because right. So I'll pull the curtain back for SithTalkers. We record on Saturdays because I do everything. So I record, I edit, I do everything, and then I leave my Sundays man, I don't do nothing. And then Monday morning comes, it's what SithTalkers going to be next week, right? It's the SithTalkers grind of what everything's going to be. So I haven't really thought about because Han mentioned, there's segments in our show, like our newer segments. Like, so when you listen to, if you do go back and listen to, there's different segments now than what there were. But we do fun new segments where me and my brother face off, where we both do impressions and you tell us who does it better. Or right now, we're doing movie quotes with Jar Jar. Jar Jar comes on, he says a movie quote as Jar Jar, and then you have to guess what the movie quote is. Past segments where I used to do encyclopedia character facts. I have Star Wars encyclopedias, and I would always pick a character and tell you about characters. You have it too. Oh, that's it.
Oh, no way.
All right, look.
Yes.
There it is. There's the yes. Look at that. Amazing. That's awesome. That is awesome. That's amazing.
It wasn't until, I forgot to tell you last time, it wasn't until like recently I just got this book, and I was looking through it and I was like, some of these pictures look familiar.
If you go to my Instagram, now look, there's almost 1,000 posts on my Instagram, but there are the pictures of the Star Wars characters throughout it, and you can see them. And you have to listen to the episode to get the description of the character. But like, it's fun. Like I said, it's fun segments. There used to be a joke of the week, and it was a robot 3POO. He would do it. We haven't done that in a long. Like I said, we have newer segments that we're just doing now. They're better for the YouTube platform. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're on YouTube. It's crazy because when I do my podcast, you got to like think about YouTube people, and you have to think about audio listeners. So
exactly.
So it's a crazy, but yeah, check us out. Like I said, we are definitely not your traditional podcast. We don't always go over the latest news and latest things. Like I said, out of the box, Dick Time with Lando, movie quotes with Jar Jar. Me and my brother do skits where we have Watto and his brother, and there's a new character called Keto who's been on the skits lately. Sometimes we usually do those at the end. I always put outtakes at the end of the episode, so funny moments like throughout that I edit out, or stuff that's at the beginning. Look, I don't want to say this is super funny because last week I put an outtake where I started singing a Queen song, and then my brother was just like, well, hey, I do a little dance every time I sing this song, and he does it on the camera, and he goes, and he goes, thank God you're not recording. And I go, well, I still am. So, sometimes I catch really, really funny stuff and I put it at the end. So yeah, like I said, we're just trying to have fun. We try to be entertaining. We're not your serious Star Wars podcast, but we just try to have fun and have a good time. Just try to be something different. And yeah, so check us out. It's at SithTalkers on Instagram, on the Twitter, on Facebook. Shoot me an email at SithTalkers@gmail.com. Check us out. There you go. That's kind of like I would plug it on my podcast.
I will be supporting you guys as long as I can. So yeah, guys, go check them out. And thank you all for listening so much. This was What If Disney Did Not Buy Star Wars, and some other topics too. But thanks for listening. Look for Han Talks First social media too. Everything's at Han Talks First, either Han Talks First or Han Talks First podcast. And we also, obviously, are on YouTube now too. This is our second recorded video featuring Lando. So thank you guys for watching. Check out the podcast on Spotify and Apple Music. And now, somehow, some way, somewhere this week, may the Force be with you.
Always.